kababayan, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Kayo po ay nanonood ng kauna-unahan at kaisa-isang pang-araw-araw na produksyon para sa ating mga Pilipino dito sa Amerika. You are watching Your Kababayan Today. And today is Talk Tuesday, which means you may join in our discussion. In fact, we encourage phone calls. We're going to be talking about a serious, sensitive issue today that has to do with bullying. And so you may call anonymously. You don't have to give your name, but if you have anything to ask or anything to share with us, please, we encourage those calls. Joining me this afternoon on the program are, the first one is criminal defense attorney. It's been a while since she was here on Kababayan Today. Attorney Karina Castañeda, hello and welcome to Kababayan Today.
Nice to be back.
Yes, and of course, Gail Lafreniere, whom I'm sure you're all familiar with. She is our resident licensed marriage and family therapist here on the program. Hello and welcome to the show as well.
Thank you, Janelle.
And like I mentioned earlier, October is National Bullying Awareness and Prevention Month, and it's just so bizarre that in the last 2 weeks of this month, there had been 2 incidents of bullycide. Teens taking their own lives and blaming it on bullying. And one of those is Jared Lewis, and here's a soundbite from his father.
I was at work Thursday morning on my post. I work for the Illinois Department of Corrections. And I got a call through outside line, and it was his mother, and she just hysterically cried out, "Jordan's dead." And I just didn't know how to take it, and I said, "What?" And she says, "Jordan's dead." And I said, "How? How did this happen?" And she said, "He shot himself." And I'm just like, "What?" And I just couldn't handle it. And I called immediately the supervisors to come down to relieve me. I had to explain to them. And then I came down as soon as possible down to Marion area, and I called the police, tried to talk to the detective in charge, asked him what was going on, and he said he left a suicide note. And he said in the suicide note he mentioned that he was being terribly bullied.
Okay, bullying, it should be a crime. Is it a crime, Attorney Karina Castañeda?
It is a crime. In California, and we're not the foremost in this, Florida, in fact, is the maverick when it comes to cyberbullying or doing something about this with our young, teens and our children. But in California, Governor Brown just signed in 2011 a cyberbullying bill that allows schools now to suspend the kids that are doing this. And there's, the California stalking laws, so there's the hate crimes. And if it rises to the level of sex crimes and things like that, it is punishable. It is punishable by law.
Okay, I have a follow-up question to that, but I'll save it for later. And that is the question, you may think about it now too. How easy or difficult is it to prove the crime of bullying? You're nodding your head, Gail. This is a serious problem. As a practicing licensed marriage and family therapist, you've talked to patients that are undergoing this kind of pressure.
Absolutely. I work with a lot of kids, and I also work with the foster care system. So a lot of times you see children who've been in the foster system who have no parents that are looking after them the way biological parents would or should. Have been subjected to bullying, and it is very rampant in the schools. It can range from cyberbullying. It can range from just every day coming into school and being harassed on the way to school, or every time somebody comes and they go by this group of kids and they get cussed at.
Right. Would you say that there's more now than before? Do you have any statistics to share?
It is rising. Cyberbullying is what's taken place. It used to be physical violence in school. It's now cyberbullying, and it makes sense because physical violence in school is easy to police. A teacher, sees it.
Exactly.
Cyberbullying occurs in the privacy of your home and your bedroom.
And you can be anonymous in cyberspace too.
Not only that, you can reach so many more people.
Yes.
Right.
So the effect. So when you talk about somebody in a negative way,
right,
usually it would just be limited to the school environment or the area or wherever you are. But now that you have social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's just very immediate. You get to put out the word about somebody that's really in a very negative way and talk about them negatively.
And influence people.
And influence so many people.
And negativity, for some reason, attracts negativity. And so when somebody posts something that's negative, it's so easy for others to just chime in.
Sure.
And then this victim now becomes singled out.
And it is very much, it's a well-known fact that kids will succumb to peer pressure.
Okay, we're going to be talking about that. If you're a parent watching, or if you're a kid undergoing through this, or if you're a kid who's witnessing bullying, we are opening our phone lines for you. If you have any questions, or if you have any comment, gusto po namin kayong makausap. Kaya tumawag na po sa linya ng aming telepono na nakalagay dyan sa inyong mga screens. But when we return, we have more to discuss. Yes. Tips for parents, how to tell, what to do, and that's when we return. Don't go away. Very serious issue on Kababayan Today, bullying, which is becoming so prevalent now. A lot of people falling prey, falling victim to that. We have attorney Karina Castaneda, criminal defense lawyer, talking about that on the legal aspect. And of course, our licensed marriage and family therapist, Gail Levin, here on the social, psychological side of things. They have tips to share with you in just a little while. But it is also Talk Tuesday, especially for our viewers in Southern California. We are taking your phone calls. Tony is our first caller of the day. Tony, magandang hapon sa iyo.
Magandang hapon din po sa inyo, lahat sa ating mga nanonood sa Kababayan. Ang tanong ko lang po, kasi nabully yung anak ko dito sa school, no, until now, then nagpo-post din siya sa internet. No, ngayon sinabi na we report that already in the school principal, pero parang wala silang ginagawa, no? So, ito ba, pwede ba namin ilapit sa police station? Ang police station dito sa Rampart, wala rin eh. No? Baliw, hindi kami pinakikinggan din eh. So, pwede kami lumapit sa ibang police station para i-report yung pagbubuli sa anak ko.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, kid being bullied. They reported to which is the good move, talk to the school, but the school is not saying anything, doing anything.
This is what I say to all victims of crime, okay? You need to be able to keep a journal. You need to detail the time, the date, the occurrences of whatever the crime is, the bullying, okay? Because the reason for this is for your case to reach the magnitude you want it to, which is to be taken seriously, to be investigated. You need to give them something to go on. So you need to, first of all, I always say this, when it comes to bullying, you need to go first and keep, the parent needs to have a sit down with the
Print
child.
out the Facebook page or the page online where the bullying is occurring.
Document the dates, document the events, document who they are, okay? And then bring that to the school. Bring that and they should have a policy in place. And if that doesn't work, concurrently, you can bring it to your police law enforcement agency, and you've done that.
You need to file a police report.
Yes, you need to do that.
Will the cops file a police report even with no injury, no physical injury?
Yes, they will. And and has there been an injury to your son? Madam Paul?
I don't. Wala na.
Wala na siya. Okay. If there is an injury, an assault, or something like that, and it's risen to a level of stalking or even a hate crime, for us immigrants, it could rise to the level of hate crime because they're using words that, connotes hate crime.
Right.
That should be investigated. If they're not investigating it, go talk to their watch commander. That is the sergeant that's there. That he is talk to the person in charge.
So keep at it.
Yes.
Right. Keep at it. Be persistent about it.
Also, the more adults you involve, for example,
teacher, principal,
aide, whatever, and then you need to have a meeting. Like Karina was saying, you need to have a meeting it's documented that you have that the incident has occurred.
Right. So when you say the more adults you involve, because also ang mga biktima at perpetrators ng bullying pabata ng pabata.
Well,
we're getting younger and younger.
Also because you have to look at it this way. The kid that's being bullied is slowly coming to a realization that there are no more options. So when you have no more options, that becomes a trigger for being desperate. And then what do?
Taking their own lives.
Taking their own lives, doing whatever. So the more options you give them, which is by giving them resources, getting adults to help them, and maybe even the caller should also think about getting him into a therapist so that they can figure out whether, how he's doing.
All right. We actually have a teacher on the line who called in anonymously, but he or she is a teacher. Hello, magandang hapon po. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon. I just happened to be listening, and I just wanted to add up to what you've been talking about, to the one of the parents who called about being bullied, And gusto ko lang sabihin na hindi lahat ng kahit kaming mga teachers, sinusulat namin yan, pinapadala sa office pag nakikita namin. Pero hindi nabibigyan na kaagad ng
Bakit daw po ganon? Have you challenged maybe authorities in your school, principal, na bakit hindi pinapansin?
Kasi gagawin nila, we have to really write it in detail. We did that, the time, the place,
right?
And then ipapadala namin. We are going to send them to the office. And, then they will send the child back after 10 minutes. They talk to the child. But
right.
It's
okay.
enough.
Well,
and then one time, instead of sending him to the office, I sent him to the counselor.
Okay.
Maybe the counselor can help better. Wala rin nangyari.
Bakit nga?
I'm just saying that I feel so bad because, when a parent calls.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. Bakit hindi pinapansin? Is that a common occurrence?
First of all, yes, it is a common occurrence.
Because they think that the kids will always just
not
be kids.
only that, ang dami. There's so many problems in schools.
But listen, the loudest gets heard, okay? By that I'm saying, for the sake of your child, because this is not easy to come to you, 1 out of 10 go to their parents. 1 out of 4 will go to law enforcement. 50% of teens are getting bullied, cyberbullied. This is rising amongst women and girls.
Right.
So the point is this, go to the school board.
Okay.
Go to the school board. If a principal's not doing anything, if the teachers aren't doing anything, if the counselors aren't doing anything, go to your school board. Guess what? You elect those people.
Right. Yes, the loudest gets heard. I like that. We're going to be talking a little bit more, plus taking your phone calls when we return on the show. Don't go away. Kababayan Today is not just arts and lifestyle and entertainment. We do talk about serious topics here dahil yan po ang gusto ng ating komunidad, yan po ang gusto nating pag-usapan para po masolusyonan ang ating mga problema. Pinag-uusapan natin ngayong hapon ang bullying, and we have our open lines today so you may call in. And this is particular for our viewers in Southern California. We are airing in Hawaii, but unfortunately you are getting us on a delayed telecast and you will not be able to call. I'm sorry about that. But for now, earlier we heard from a teacher saying na maski sila, they document it and they send it to the principal, but they don't do anything about it. Which begs the question, is it because, not just because there's so many, is it also because how do you draw the line between kids being kids and aggression that leads to bullying?
Yes, and you have to look at the frequency of it and the type of bullying and the type of playing, I guess, kid play, what do they do? And basically, bullying is really a lot about control and power over another person.
Okay.
So a lot of the kids, what is the basis of aggression? There's a lot of factors that go into it, but usually it's personality or environment, or if the child is having unresolved emotional problems at home, and they act it out.
You're talking about the perpetrator.
I'm talking about the perpetrator, but but you've got to be looking at the perpetrator as well when you're looking at the victim, because if you're trying to figure out what is normal and what is not, what is bullying and not, you've got to look at that relationship.
And we're looking at some of these stories that we're hearing about.
Right.
Some of them have been bullied for years.
Right.
For a year, for 6 months. It's an extended period of time.
And the question, when you have to look at, you also have to ask the child, because sometimes when you ask your child, are you being bullied? And they might say no, because sometimes it's a shameful thing for them.
Yeah.
So part of what you need to do is to get involved. Parent has to get involved and know what's going on with their child.
And they have to be consistent, and they have to be tenacious. They can't just give up just because no one's listening.
Yeah.
Virginia is joining us from Hollywood. Magandang hapon sa'yo, Virginia.
Oh, hi.
Yes.
Magandang hapon din. Yeah, I would like to say something about regarding about bullying about the kids in the school. My child, my daughter, she experienced that also from her school. She's in middle school.
Okay,
And
middle school.
Yes, I was so afraid of my daughter that she was gonna commit a suicide. It's because one time she was coming home and she was crying, and I was worried about my daughter. I don't know what's going on, so I did talk to her, and I finally convinced her what's going on. So she finally told me that it was one of her, the problem. It was in her classroom, and also her teacher. She had a favoritism on the subject. It was math subject, and I guess my daughter, the teacher, she don't really like my daughter. And then the other kids, they get into that side from her teacher, and they start bullying my daughter.
Okay.
And I told my daughter, I said, okay, if you don't want to go to school anymore, because she told me that she don't want to go to school, she don't want to go back in school, and I told her that I was gonna put or transfer you to another school, or either you're gonna study home study.
Okay, thank you so. Yeah, thank you so much. We'll keep our call short po dahil marami pong tumatawag. Pero homeschool and transferring schools, is that a viable option?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Kung kailangan i-transfer and you think that they will have a better chance of, doing better at the new school, that's fine. Homeschooling, it's a little bit more involved than just transferring to another school, because homeschooling, you have to take a lot of initiative to give them socialization with other kids.
Right, especially if they're just being homeschooled.
Yes, you don't want to jump from the fire to the...
Right.
from the pot to the fire.
At this point, Karina, from the legal perspective, can Virginia file something with the police? Especially the teacher, we're talking about kids perpetrating bullying, but then there are also instances when the teacher is the one that encourages and perpetrates bullying.
I think you need to start documenting who you're talking to, what they've done, because there are civil lawsuits that can be filed against the school,
against the school
board,
right,
for negligence. If anything happened to your daughter, let's say, if she was seriously injured or even, death in the hands of a bully, that is the response. And they had noticed that this was going on.
I want to suggest to the mom, though, that she should bring this up to the school counselor, because the school counselor might know about that teacher, and if there are other incidents involving that teacher, then...
That's what I was going to ask. Should the parent, before thinking about transferring the kid, also exhaust all efforts first and talk to the teacher?
Yes, absolutely. You have to, because otherwise, it's also very empowering for the child. Because let's say if it's the personality of the child that's kind of, a little bit less not...
Vocal,
doesn't take the initiative,
right.
Then you move her to a different school. What if it happens again at the different school? Then are you going to move again to a different school?
Right, keep moving, right. Okay, we have one last block. When we return on the show, I know Grace is standing by on the line. We'll get to your call when we return. Don't go away. Talking about bullying on Kababayan today, taking phone calls as well. Thank you so much for joining us, because we've gotten so many good phone calls. And thank you, Karina and Gail, for your valuable input as well. Last caller of the day is Grace, joining us from Pasadena. Grace, magandang hapon sa'yo.
Magandang hapon naman. Hindi, gusto ko lang i-share sa inyo lang my first grade ko noon was bullied, talagang struggled, no?
face down and hit very hard, ending up with bruises all over the face.
Wow.
I didn't involve the parent of the bully, but I went to the principal and showed the effects. And then observed in school, and I noticed that the bully again victimized another one. So immediately after the incident, I presented it to the principal. So there is an incidence that this person is really a bully, not just I was making it up. But then what I also did was, for every bully, there is a victim. So the bully will never victimize everybody else. He will choose his victim. So I presume that my child had that profile of a victim. So what did we do? We told him, we made him learn all kinds of sports, made him do better, you know. And so we tried to get him out. We developed his self-esteem, self-confidence in a way that he will be taken out from that victim profile. And because of that, he was never bullied again. And I think parents should realize that if your child is a victim, find out why and improve, take her out or him out from that profile.
Right. That's a good move from Grace. And also, it's good for her that the kid came home with bruises she was able to see, right?
Good and bad, right?
Right. Because at the same time, if your kid is cyberbullying, there's no...
Much more difficult.
So how do you tell if your kid is being bullied?
Well, this is where I'm really impressed, because the parent was very involved. So she knew what was happening to her child. And I think that's what we need to do. You need to know who your child is, how they really are. So for example, if your child is normally very active, very happy, and then all of a sudden they come home sad, or they come home saying, you know, usually if they're very talkative and then all of a sudden they're not talking anymore, or their grades go down, or, you know, maybe once in a while you should visit the school and see and find out how he's doing. Maybe observe the child. Of course, it depends on what age.
Or I would always say this: throw a dinner at home and invite the friends of your child.
Absolutely.
Right?
You need to know their friends. You need to know if they have Facebook accounts, you need to be able to access those. Be friends with the parents of the friends, because they might know. This is networking for the good of your child.
So I guess being an involved parent.
Absolutely.
It's actually a tip for victims, especially in cyberbullying. It's actually, or bullying for that matter, for children. Have friends. Have friends. It's usually she's absolutely correct. There is a victim profile. Now, we're not blaming the victim per se, but there is a profile that they prey on. And so you want to step out of that profile and having a good group of people around you and your family.
Okay. When you're talking about profile, of course, obviously, a lot of the victims are also immigrants because we don't speak English very well. We have an accent when we speak English, and some parents are not as involved because parents are also scared because they don't know what their rights are. From a defense lawyer, criminal lawyer, Karina, kausapin mo yung ating mga kababayan, ano ba ang pwede nilang gawin? Ano ba mga karapatan nila when faced with a situation like this?
You know, the first thing they need to do, Janelle, really, a parent, their child has to, they feel welcomed. You know, many parents will say, come on, tough it out. You know, we have to be stronger here. We're in America. You know, we can't depend on people. You have to depend on yourself. Right? So what we're saying to them is just take it. Just take it. Just take it. But what we're saying to you today is don't take it. You don't need to keep taking it. You need to be more proactive to get yourself out of whatever your deficiencies are. And it's not a deficiency to have an accent. You know?
You know what? Sometimes kasi bago tayo dito, don't make trouble. You know, in our culture, don't make trouble. Don't rock the boat. Just stay away from them. Just stay out of their way, which is not okay.
And it's sending the wrong message to your child as well. I know that we all have our challenges, but as a parent, we are responsible for taking care of our child's needs. And if our child needs us to be empowered, we should do that.
And it's a good example.
And let me tell you,
30 seconds on the show.
There is a growing trend to prosecute parents of the perpetrators.
So we need to know our rights, and we need to fight for our rights. Thank you so much. One show is not enough. It's never enough here on Kababayan today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all the callers, and thank you if you called and we didn't get to your phone call. I'm sorry, but we'll try again another time, all right? Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.